What up, crew? Welcome back to the channel. It's 5 a.m. here in Dallas, watching a little Ryder Cup. Absolutely embarrassing. US down, got swept the first round. Hasn't happened in a long time, so that's really embarrassing. So we got that going for us. Traveling to San Antonio today for the Hivemind Conference. Giving a keynote tomorrow. Title I've come up with is Highest Leverage Land Strategies in Today's Market. Let me show you how much progress I've made here. Cover slide. So we're doing pretty well. Got a day to put it together though, so that's when I work best. I gotta finish packing, get ready, and see you guys on the plane.
Where we at? What are we on?
You already know, we're in San Antonio. We're here, we're gonna go to the Hivemind Conference. Appreciate them inviting us.
All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed your lunch. If you get lazy, feel tired, feel free to stand up, walk around, little button goes up in the back, move around a little bit, don't feel like you're locked in your seat forever. We're going to go ahead and get right back into it. This next speaker has been doing land on a large scale, right? Both size of deal and profit size. Probably for longer than me, roughly about the same time. And his social media presence, the business that he's building is amazing, it's tremendous. Probably a lot more well-structured than ours is. So Clint's a lot more of like the engineer type brain. So he has a very cool down way that he does things. The strategies that he uses are super advanced. You would be hard pressed to find somebody doing what he's doing at his level in any other room. So I wish you guys would pay attention to this. We have not done our first deal together, but I think we have a couple identified so far. So guys, please give it up to Mr. Clint Turner.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, my name's Clint Turner. I started investing in land graduated college in 2016. So that seems like a long time ago now. Graduated, hated my sales job. Started 3 businesses. Land was the one that worked. And so I kept doing land. My first deal was I bought a 5-acre piece of land in Colorado for $800. I sold it for $1,000 down and $250 a month for like 4 or 5 years. I actually just wrote the deed because she had to take a little pause in her payments, but I just wrote the deed off to her a couple months back. So that was my first deal. Thank you, sir. First deal. Now we're really focusing on larger value add plays, especially in the Texas metro areas. I'm very, very bullish on Texas. Within 2 hours of an international airport, you'll hear me say that a bunch. But that's really what we look at. Today, I really want to talk to you guys, because I've been doing land, again, since 2016, 2017. The reason I started our education company, Learn Land, is because back in those days, it was harder to sell land than it was to find deals. Who started land in the last like 2 or 3 years? Show of hands real quick. If you had a piece of dirt, did you make money on it pretty quick? Right? So, you know, the paradigm shift, if you will, it was very much, we just need to find deals so we can sell them. Who's in the market right now and is saying, hey, it's getting a little harder to sell land again? Okay, yeah, so most people. So the market is cycling back, right? So I like to say, hey, I haven't been through a major recession, but I've been through a minor one. And I think we are heading into something that could be called a recession. Let's use it lightly. But that's why I called my presentation today Adapt. So I want to teach you guys what I think is going to work really, really well over the next few years as the market generally and all the news outlets and everything tells you we're going down, we're going into a recession. I want to share strategies that I think are going to work really well. Big thank you to Anthony and Daniel. I appreciate them having us out. Obviously, incredible house, incredible opportunity to be here. Goals for today, I want to paint a picture of the current market. Okay, I want to give you some data points. I want to give you some things you can use. I want to talk about how to adapt your business to that market. And then I'll finish today with strategies, 3 or 4 strategies. I don't remember how many I have in here that you can actually use right now. Okay, so that's my goal today. If you guys got questions, I got like way too many slides in here, so just write them down or put them in your phone, and then I'll answer them at the end of the session. I just want to make sure I can get through everything for you guys today, and then I'll be here till about 4:30 or 5, so if you guys want to ask questions, network, talk with us, please come say hey. Is that good? How are we feeling after lunch? Are we feeling a little sluggish? Here, let's just all shake it out real quick. Just a little something. All right, this is one of my favorite ones. Move your jaw like this. Think about moving your ears. Can you do it? Well, maybe you're a little more awake. All right, so let's go. My story, I already told you some of it. Graduated college. I worked in engineering sales. These are my favorite 2 pictures I've ever taken. That's me packing my desk up, and that's me walking out of my job for good. That was in 2018, 2019. This is my family, this is my wife. We got married a couple years ago. That is we used to call him our son. He is our dog. We are expecting our first child, so I cannot call him my son anymore. But that is my family and my background. Just a real quick, only thing I'm gonna plug today, I have a free course on YouTube. I used to sell this for $1,000 or $2,000, depending on when you found it. It's completely free. You just search me on YouTube. I'll have a QR code later to where you can get to it easier. But literally, it's just Clint Turner YouTube. You can find it. There's like 40 videos. It just teaches everything I know about land. And so free for you guys. You can go through it. You can actually download all the scripts, all the presentations, all the resources with it completely free. That's for you guys and everybody else. So if you ever are trying to get started in land, you know somebody's trying to get started in land, I also talk even deeper about team structures and things like that in there. So even if you're scaling your business, probably a good thing for you guys to access. And it's free, so we all like free, right? Okay, land changed my life. So between 2017 and 2020, I quit my job. I was living my dream. I had my high school, like dual credit finance teacher ask us at one point, what amount of money would change your life? Write it down, put it in an envelope, put it in your safe or whatever. So I wrote down $100,000 a year. I was like, if I can make $100,000 a year, my life will be changed. Because I come from a background of divorce, and money was always the central issue. And so I've been money motivated, call it good or bad, for the majority of my life. Land got me there, right? Land not only got me to $100K a year, it was 150, whatever I wrote down. It was funny looking back on that, but you know, it's weird to say that I made millions of dollars in cash, like in our bank accounts. It still doesn't seem real to me that I say that, but we have. Land changed my life. I'll show you a couple deals that did too today, but I want you to know it can for you too. I've talked to a lot of people in here today, a lot of people getting started, a lot of house wholesalers, house flippers. Guys, land's where it's at, all right? I was talking to somebody earlier, I was saying, hey, I don't know where you can make $1 million in a house flip unless you're putting a couple $1 million into it. And even those are tough to find. Land truly changed my life for me, and I think it can for a lot of other people too. This is what I like. This is why I'm good at land, because it's simple, okay? No tenants, termites, toilets. Who's heard that before? Who coined that phrase? Who knows it? All right, we're not going to say his name because we don't give him any free media. But anyhow, if you know who he is, land is simple, but it is not easy. So don't let the gurus fool you, okay? I'd love, and I'm not talking about anybody here. I'm just talking about everybody on the internet who's saying, flip lots, flip land, it's super easy. It's simple, okay? Other than what Logan talked about earlier, because that's some pretty deep shit, but overall, land is pretty simple, but it is not easy. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of focus, mental energy, and consistency to grow it to where it's going to be really impactful for you, okay? All right, so here's where I'm going to start talking about what's going on in the market, right? In today's market, right, so let's just go through the last couple years. I asked you guys to raise your hand a minute ago of who was doing business. Let's just do it one more time. Who was doing business between 20 and 2022? Just want to get a gauge. Okay, it's called a third of the room. Who's getting started right now? Okay, probably maybe a tenth or 20% of the room. Got it. So, between 20 and 2022, if you had dirt, you sold it, you made a bunch of money, okay? I do a lot of owner financing, which I'll talk about here in a second. And I had a property I sold on owner financing in 2019, and it defaulted in 2021. I took the property back. I bought the thing for $17,000. I think I'd collected around 30, or like 22, 23 by the time we had repossessed or foreclosed on the property. resold it for $99,000, okay? It was like almost doubled in appreciation from when I bought it to when I sold it, just because of this market in 2022, all right? So land appreciated a lot. Now we're in this transitional period. I think we're coming out of it, frankly, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Buyers want discounts faster than sellers are willing to come down on price. How many people are seeing that? Few, okay. Sellers saw their neighbor's property sell for double what it did the last year, triple what it did a few years ago. And so what I've seen over the last year, 2 years, is there has been a major influx of land listings, influx of supply. Everybody thinks they can get that top of market price. That's where we've been for the majority of this year. So it has been challenging to put deals together. What makes me really excited is this part, is we're now in a correcting market, in my opinion. I'm starting to have people, and I'll share a strategy with you real quick. Anytime I have a quality conversation or my team has a quality conversation with a seller, even if we don't get the deal closed, I send them a $10 FedEx package. It's a 9.5 by 11, rip and strip, got a sign for it FedEx package. And it has the TREC contract, or whatever your state's contract is, with the offer price that we discussed on the phone. Probably a third of my deals come back just through that, all right? And we are getting a lot of calls right now. Because when you send a 9-page contract, and it says, I'll give you $1 million for your piece of land, and they want a 1.8, but now they need $1 million, who are they gonna call first? They're gonna call the person they trust, they had a good conversation with, the person that sent them a nice handwritten note, and the person that sent them $1 million contract, right? And oftentimes we have to renegotiate and such, but that's a tip for you. It's worked very, very well for me. I've made a lot of money with it. I think we spend like $700 or $800 a month just sending those packages out. I just want as many of those packages on people's doorstep. But I'm really excited about the market we're coming into because there's less competition. I have a partnership with a large print mail house. So they do, let's call it 50% of land investors direct mail. Interesting stat for you guys. Over the last 6 months, mail volume compared to 20 and 2022 is down 85%. 85%. So a lot of people made a lot of money, but it was a challenging market. And so what are they saying? Hold on, let me back off just a second. Let me kind of sit back. Now it's time to go, right? That's what I think we're coming into. And so I'm as bullish as I've ever been on land. I'm as bullish as I have ever been on outbound direct-to-seller marketing. And I think that we're going to find a lot of deeper discounts with properties coming up. So if you have gotten your fucking teeth kicked in, like most of us have over the past year, hold tight, because I think we're coming into a really good market. All right? Just a little more on this, right? In a seller's market, it's easier to get money. It's easier to sell. It's harder to find deals. Now, it's going to start getting easier to buy. I'm going to talk about funding a lot today, but it's going to be harder to sell relatively. But I think one of the big things to focus on is going to be harder to get funding. I'll talk about that a little more. The land market is fragmented, okay? So has anyone seen the Zillow, like 1% home, like 1% down program, or maybe it's with Rocket Mortgage, okay? You can literally pull up your phone right now. You can book an appointment, get pre-approved for a 1% mortgage, and go buy a house. There's a little more complexity to it. But what I'm trying to illustrate is how can you do that with land? Does anybody know? You can't, right? And so there are a ton of areas where we can add value because the transaction chain from start to end in land is so fragmented, all right? Finding deals to most people here don't even know how to find deals, right? They're not here, but most people don't know how to go out and find good deals, okay? When you're selling a house, you list it on the MLS, right? What else do we do? Maybe a little social media marketing, but you list it. There's like over half the land deals in the US transact off of the MLS. You don't ever see them listed. Maybe they go through like a land.com, but what happens a lot of times is local brokered relationships. So finding deals is very fragmented. If you have a way to get in front of a lot of owners, you have a competitive advantage. I'm going to skip advertising the channel. Let's go to financing, okay? It is really, really hard for borrowers to get money for land. You typically need to show 2 to 3 times on a personal financial sheet. If I'm buying a $200,000 lot, for a bank to give me a loan for it, unless I'm going to build right now, but that's not most of our sales. They want to see that you have 2 to 3 times the value of the property in your net worth, especially in cash, right? They want to know, because this is a secondary transaction. And so when we want to go sell to the market, financing is getting more challenging. And I talk to a lot of banks, and financing is about to get a lot harder I'll share a little bit more of that with you guys, okay? Flipping is flipping is flipping. The what never changes. We're buying properties and selling them for more. The how changes, and that's what I want to focus on today, okay? Successful flippers are quick to adapt. Who agrees with that? Okay, good. If you didn't raise your hand, I'm just thinking it's because you're tired after lunch. Okay, skip this slide. Okay, so I did let me see if it's the next slide. I don't know if it's in here. I gave this speech about 10 months ago with these slides. I'm going to rip through them, but it's also on my YouTube channel. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. So if you want to hear me go really, really deep on these four on these four keys to successfully flipping in a declining market, I got an hour and 20-minute video on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. So I'm going to try and speed through these a little quicker here, okay? But here's the four things that I really think you need to do in 2023 and 24 and 25 to be successful in land investing, okay? The first one is focus on being an A property in your market. Like I said, there are significantly more properties being listed for sale because their neighbor sold their property for 2 times what they thought it was worth, and now every neighbor that has a piece of land wants to sell it. So there's a lot more land listed, which means you got to stick out, okay? How do we stick out? We've got to have the highest quality properties, okay? Can't be flat, dirt, ugly-ass land. It can be, but it's got to be priced right, okay? We've got to have the high-quality properties, the best pricing, and the best financing. Those are the 3 tools to make you the best option in the market. Because let's be honest, there's not a ton of people, like I've been doing this for a long time. The amount of people comparatively to all other asset classes that are sitting down at their computer and searching land for sale and blah, 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 it's not a ton, okay? So if there's an influx of opportunities on the market, how do you search on Zillow these days? Like if you were to open up Zillow, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to filter. You might set a price filter. You might go to the map, right? You know what the map promotes? The listings that the most people are clicking on. And so if you have a property with the best pictures, the best price, if you're offering owner financing, you get a lot more clicks, you get a lot more people that are going to look at your property. We have to be the best option for our buyers. So when I look at a property right now, what I'm thinking is, I want to look at the market and I want to say, do I have very competitive or the best pricing? And is it relatively to what's around me? Is it beautiful? Is it scenic? Is there good access? All the things that we need to have, right? We have to be the best option for buyers. You'll hear a lot of stories this weekend of great deals. I have a large mastermind and I know a lot of people that are getting crushed right now, okay? Because they bought bad deals in the last few years, expecting the upmarket to continue running, all right? When people are buying land right now, we have to be the best option. For me, what the best option is right now, how I think about it, really if you're within, and this is for Texas because I do land in Texas, if you're within 1 to 2 hours of a major metro in Texas, something's going to be worth at least $10,000 an acre, up to 15, up to 20. But if something next door, all the stuff next door is listed for $22,000 an acre, I sure as hell don't want to come and list it for $24,000 an acre because I bought it wrong. I want to list it at $18,000 an acre. So I'm very picky when I do deals, but price is the easiest way, right? Price is the easiest way to differentiate you. So we have to be the best option for our buyers in this market, all right? There it is. Look at that nasty mustache right there. That's horrible. If you want to see this whole speech, that's the QR code right there. You can grab it. Again, I'm going to keep blitzing through this, so I'm going to take a quick drink of water if you want to get that. And if you wouldn't mind just dropping the old subscribe on the YouTube channel while you're there. It wouldn't hurt. Let's see if we can get to 1,300 today after our presentation. We did an event last year. I gave these the 4 things that we're going through right now. I did a whole hour and a half on them, so feel free to get into that. Okay, buy right. What I want to talk about when it comes to buying right is adjusting retail value, all right? A lot of issues that I see that land flippers make, land investors, is they look at Zillow and they see everything listed for $20,000 to $25,000 an acre, and that's what they use to underwrite the deal, or that's what they think they're going to exit the deal at. I'm seeing very consistently right now what's listed versus what's sold. It's about 10 to 20% less. I have access to almost every MLS in the state of Texas, so I can see what's actually being reported. And it is generally, this is even on the lower end, okay? So do not take listed comps as the whole source of truth, okay? In fact, anytime I look at something listed, I drop 10 to 20% off of it just based on how in demand I think that property is. Remember when I said a second ago, I know people are getting crushed right now? It's because they see stuff listed for $25,000 an acre, but the truth is only 5 properties sold at that at the top of the market. And realistically, we're going back to where it's worth $17,000 an acre. So if you go and buy it for $17,000, $18,000 an acre, you're losing money, right? Housing does not equal land. Housing, how many house flippers or past house flippers we got in the room? Got a couple, okay? Housing, you have a solid liquidity pool. I'm going to use that word a few times. Why do you have a solid liquidity pool? Because people need a roof over their head, right? Land is secondary. People don't need land. They want land. A lot of people want land. It's kind of in that American dream formula to want land, right? But there is not implicit, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think shelters are like right on up there at the top, right? We don't have that implicit demand for land. It's secondary demand. It's discretionary income. Don't let anybody fool you. Unless you're selling infill lots or developed lots to builders or to somebody who's going to build right now, you don't fall into the housing market. So if the housing market's doing this and this and this and this and everything, don't let that deter you from what land's doing. Land has consistently appreciated 2 to 3% a year for like 100 years, okay? Because it has a consistent buyer pool, people with secondary income, people that really want land. So I just say this because I know a lot of house flippers that come into land. They get stuck with this idea of, oh, the housing market's going through the roof, or the housing market's taking a shit, so is the land market. The land market is generally pretty steady. You just have to do what I said on the last couple slides, is be a good option in your market, okay? Again, if you got questions, I'll answer them all at the end and happy to talk to you after as well. Who's our buyers? Residential luxury necessity, right? This is not who we generally have unless you are selling to somebody who's building immediately, okay? Okay, I talked about this just a little bit, but this is just a very tactical thing for you. If you're looking at what am I going to sell my property at here in 2023 or in 2024, we are not pulling up Zillow and land.com and taking an average of the properties listed in the area. First thing we got to do is deliver or figure out similar in feature, okay? When my team puts comps together, they have a 1 through 10 scale. 7's not an option, all right? 1 through 10 excluding 7. How similar is the property that I'm comping to the property I'm buying? A lot of people will look at a property that's gorgeous. It's got these mature oak trees, and it's got fencing. Maybe it's got a well, it's got a gate, and that thing will sell for $22,000 an acre, and they're like, cool, so is mine. Not unless you're putting all that in, right? I see this mistake time and time again. You need to comp similar in feature, all right? Similar in feature. Close in proximity, obviously, you know, land can change from block to block, right? And I mean section blocks, not actual residential blocks. But land can change very quickly. So you want to find close in proximity, similar in features. This is what I really like right now. I want listings that have sold in the last 3 months. What I like really, really more than that are pending listings. Pending listings. Say it one more time. Pending listings, okay? That shows you right now what's it worth. Because as we go into a market where if I asked anybody in this room, they'd all have a different opinion probably of what's going to happen over the next 6, 12, 18 months. The only thing I care about is what's happening right now. So are there no pending listings in the last 3 months? Are there no sold listings? There were a year ago, but there's not now. Probably was a function of the market then, right? This is really what we focus on is recently sold and pending listings with the heaviest weight being what is pending right now. All right, so what is pending right now? Understanding sold comps in a declining market. I basically just talked about all this. 3 to 6 month data, use solds to adjust baseline. Summary is pendings. What's that, brother?
So these comping you just talked about, is it for all the states or just non-disclosures?
All states.
Okay, all right.
If you're looking at Zillow from a consumer standpoint or land.com, that's not the price you need to take. You need to either have understand the market. If you don't understand the market, just drop 15% off of it. That's my go-to. If it's a new market for me, if everything's listed at $10,000 an acre, I say I'm selling it at $8,500 an acre because I probably won't lose, right? Does that make sense? Okie doke. 5 steps using the active comps. Let's see how much I already talked about on market. Okay, on market actives. Okay, so how much competition, right? This is a tricky one. A lot of people talk about days on market versus sold. Again, the market's changing so rapidly right now. And I'm going to provide this presentation too. I love that you guys take pictures of me while I'm up here, but I'll make sure the Hivemind guys send it out to you. We want to make sure, like I said, that if there has been an influx 2, 3, 4 times the amount of listings, we understand what's selling. In Texas, it's tough. That's why I got to get in good with brokers, have somebody you work with well, because that's going to be probably some of the best data. Also, don't have an affiliate. I actually hate them. But land.com, if you know who that is, if you have an account with them, even the lowest tier, yeah, I see a couple chuckles in here. You know what I'm talking about. If you have an account with land.com, again, I hate that I'm selling their product right now. A lot of the land that doesn't transact on the MLS transacts on land.com, and they have a sold portal behind it, right? So between sold listings, MLS listings, and land.com backend, like I think their cheapest account maybe a couple $100. It's worth it in my opinion just for the data on the back end, right? So I want to see how long they're sitting. I want to compare solds versus actives. I want to make sure that if there's 50 lots listed, that can give you a false sense of hope or positivity. If only 4 lots have sold in the last 6 months, you probably got about 3 or 4 years of inventory on the market. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that makes sense real quick. If there's 40 lots on the market, okay, in the last 6 months, only 4 of them sold, I'm guessing about 10 sell a year. I'm guessing there's 4 years of inventory on the market. So I either got to be able to hold the property for a long time, or like I said, I want to be the best option in the market. Okay, I'm not doing deals if I can't check all those boxes right now. I'm a little more risk adverse, and so that's just my personal opinion. Pendings, call agents. If you call an agent and say, hey, I see you're under contract on this listing. I know you can't disclose the price, but I have a property I'm looking to sell in the area. Can you tell me if I'm in the ballpark? Was it like $15,000 an acre? Half the time they'll say, yeah, go up a little bit, or they'll say, no, it was $18,000. I'll just tell you, okay? So that's what we do, especially if you don't have MLS access, you need to get some quick data. That's a good way to do it, okay? This is important, have a tool belt, okay? This is a property that I bought. This is in Midland, Texas. That's a hospital, all right? Land near a hospital you generally think is going to be pretty expensive. This goes into kind of what Logan was talking about earlier. This property we bought for, what did we buy for? $20,000. What happened was there were 3 undivided interests in the property. I'm not going to go through how to solve that problem today, but I'll just tell you this. All 3 people didn't really know who the other people were, and they didn't know they owned the property except one of them, right? So, Ancestry.com, hiring a private investigator off of Upwork, got us the contact information and in touch with all the other owners. 2 of them didn't even really know they had the property. It just kind of got passed down through title and probate. So they both took like $4,000 or $6,000 for the property, and then the balance we gave to the lady we made contact with. I bought that property for $21,000. I sold it to the developer that built the hospital for like $220,000, okay? That was simply a function of having a tool belt. A lot of people see undivided interest. They're like, all right, not my deal, right? That's why being in the right network, knowing the right people is super important. I didn't know how to do this. I just found somebody that did, right? And then we paid a little bit of money to make it happen. We probably made $200,000 on that deal. This is a property, my first big subdivide deal. I did this in like 2020. And I'm going to talk a lot about this here in a minute. Prior to this, the previous deal was the biggest deal I had done. This deal right here, one of my clients, people in my network, like in this room, brought to me. And they said, hey, I got this big tract. They want like $1 million something for it. It's just not my deal, right? This is about 40 minutes from downtown Austin. And I was like, how much do they want? $12,000 an acre? I was like, well, I don't know how to do the deal. I don't know how to do a subdivide, but I know for darn sure that it's worth more than $12,000 an acre. So I said, bring it to me, okay? Cut this property up into 8 or 9 tracts. It shows 8, it was actually 9. We bought this property for about $1.22 million. We sold it for $2.3 million. I did nothing. I basically made this map. And let me not oversimplify that. I had a surveyor turn this into a concept plan. I figured out who the water company was, who the power company was. I'm going to talk more about this in a second. But again, somebody brought me this deal. We bought it for like 1.22, 1.23. I did this basic work to it. I listed it online. I got an offer in like 3 days. I was watching the Cowboys game on a Sunday, and I had 2 agents banging my phone down trying to get the property because $23,000 an acre was a really good deal in this area. And so the partnership on this deal made over $1 million. I paid the wholesale that brought it to me $110,000. I personally made around $600,000 on the deal. So I had to say, hold on a second. I've been doing this other stuff for a long time. I'm making a few $100,000 a year doing land. I just made it all in this one deal, right? So this is what really got me into what I do now, what I've been focusing on over the last couple of years. All right. So,
was that a gravel road?
That was a paved road on the west side. And so we had this platted, we had easements put into it, and then a rural developer bought it. I'll go into pretty deep in here in just a minute. Okay, focus on financing again. Like I said, the transaction chains, it is very, it's very challenging in land. It is very fragmented, as I like to say. Okay, it is tough for buyers to get financing. We are selling properties 6 times faster. Let me just say it one more time for the folks in the back. We are selling properties 6 times faster with owner financing right now in today's market, okay? Financing is challenging. If you can buy deals, I'll talk about it in a minute, and work in where you can sell it on owner financing. Let's say you sell it and you have a $100,000 note. You're like, Clint, I can't do that. I got to get my money back out of it. I can find 10 people before I leave today to buy that note from you for $85,000, okay? So simply pretending to be the bank and then selling the note can help you sell property significantly faster right now. My plan in declining market, I'm gonna make more money, okay? Deals I think are gonna get easier to buy, and I'm gonna be quick to adapt to the changes. So I want everybody to not be scared about what's happening in the market, but be excited, because I am, all right? Okay, so how are we gonna do this? There are 3 strategies. Again, that whole presentation I gave in like 25 minutes, or I don't even know how long I've been up here, but there's an hour and 20-minute one on YouTube if you wanna watch it. Okay, 3 land strategies you can use today. This is how I'm making the most money I've ever made in my entire life right now. Strategy 1, flipping simple subdivides to rural developers, okay? Flipping simple subdivides to rural developers. How many times have you gone on Zillow or land.com and seen a listing and it's like track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, track 5, and a couple of them are marked sold? That's a rural developer, okay? That's somebody familiar with the area. Here's the great part. They buy everything off the MLS, off land.com. They're used to retail prices, okay? And also you can just do this when we're done here. Just go to land.com, look at a 100 or 200 acre tract near San Antonio or Austin, and then just go in that same search area and change your box to like 20 acres max. Just by being smaller, the properties appreciate 40, 50, 60, 70%. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not the first people to do this, and there are rural developers that have been doing this for a long time, okay? One deal can change the course of your life, okay? When I got the $654,000 check from that deal I did, I mean, I didn't retire, obviously, but had a bunch more money in my account than I'd ever had, really than I ever thought I would. And then you do 2 or 3 or 4 of those, it really, really can change your life. Nice. Okay, so let me go through this real quick. This is very tactical, all right? How do you flip a piece of land to a rural developer? First things first, you've got to find the rural developers. Crazy, right? But there aren't a ton of them. And so the 3 ways that I find them, first off, you need to just search Facebook and Instagram for land every single day. You need to search the word land. You need to follow land accounts. You need to go find Clint Turner, follow his account, because the algorithm will put you in a place of, this guy likes land, right? How most rural developers sell land, it's not through the MLS. It's not through land.com. They run $10,000 of Facebook ads. They set 100 appointments on the same day to sell 10 properties, and they bring them in 20 at a time, 20 at a time, 20 at a time. And it's a really good strategy, by the way. But that's where you find rural developers, okay? I am in the land algorithm. Meta knows I like land now. So I get ads from every single rural developer. Texas Land and Lakes, BG Development, yada, yada, yada. Every company that's cutting up land, I get their ads. Take a screenshot of it, go to their sales page, figure out the name of their company, figure out who owns it, Now I can get in contact with them, all right? And I'll talk about what to do in a minute. Second, Google search, terms like subdivides in X area, buy land in X area, and look for the pay-per-click options at the top, all right? You'll find real developers who are paying for that traffic right there. That's a second way to find them. Third, like I said a second ago, land.com in the MLS. Any of those properties you see where it's like there's 15 tracks and 8 are sold, right? That's a rural developer. So you can just take down who it is, take down the agent's information, look up the property, whoever owns it, do a reverse skip search on it, and then you can find out who's the mastermind behind that deal. And then we can go into part 2. All right, we can learn what they want. We want to intro them. We want to get an intro to them, however that works. And I say however that works because it's just going to be very dependent. You're going to have to get them on the phone. Sometimes if you want to say like, hey, I have a project, or hey, I have a deal, be very careful with that if you don't actually have one, but you want to get in their door, okay? Second, you want to just figure out what do they want, all right? Location, improvement cost. There's a couple words missing from there, but like who's their ideal buyer, right? Most rural developers can say, I sell 10 to 20 acre tracts for 10 to 15,000 an acre. Beautiful, love it, okay? So now I know what they want. And if you talk to these guys, 90% of them, they just buy off the MLS, man. They just buy from land.com or whatever full market value is. They are hungry for you to bring them deals, even $500 below market value. $500 an acre, rather, below market value, okay? How do you build trust quickly with one of these people? Show a past deal, okay? If you don't have a past deal, that's why you're in the room, all right? Anybody that works with Anthony or David, Daniel, anybody that works in my group, if you work with somebody who has done deals and they want to do more deals with you, ask for permission to say, hey, I'm trying to build trust with this developer. Can I say I participated in this project with you? And if deals come from it, I'll hook you up on the back end. Most people will say yes. And then the last thing, this is what's really worked for me, is set up a formal handoff process, okay? So the first thing, and like, who's had a solar salesperson come to their house? Not really, like who? Okay. What they do these days is they say, oh, no, I'm not here to sell you anything. I just want to see. Do you even have all the information? I just want to see if we can make you. So I'm just going to go take a picture of your meter, and then my engineer is going to come by your house and tell you how much money you can save, blah, 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 blah. They're not trying to sell you right there, okay? They're just, it's a sales process. That's the first step so they can step in the door and say, hey, here's how much money, and here's how it'll cost, and here's what happens. You don't pay for your power anymore. When you're working with a developer, somebody who's smart, you need a formal process so you look like you know what you're doing, okay? The first thing that I do, well, there's really just two things. I create a non-disclosure agreement and what I call, I'm probably not the first person to do it, a non-circumvention agreement, all right? That says, hey, if I ever send you a deal and it goes into this portal, which I'll talk about in just a second, and you snake me and go behind my back, you owe me 50% of the deal, right? So we sign that. That's just like, would I litigate? Would I do anything? Probably not. But it's a formal process to where now they're going to take you seriously, right? Now a rural developer is going to be like, okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. I'll sign that. And there's something in there. It's like if it's listed, it doesn't count. But anything off market I bring you, you can't snake me. Again, I'm probably not going to sue anybody unless it's like a big infraction. But it's just formal. Now they feel like we've built a relationship. Half of them will say, hey, I need my attorney to review this real quick. So what does that mean? They wouldn't spend $300 an hour on their attorney, and they're like, all right, fuck, I just want to sign this thing so I can do deals with this guy, right? Second is portal access, okay? There's a couple platforms. One's called Softr, S-O-F-T-R. That's a little more complex. There's also platforms like Monday and Airtable, places where you can just create a little board or a workspace, right? And so what my team does with our rural developers that we have relationships with, we just create little individual, and remember, if you got questions, write them down, I'll answer them at the end. We just set up a little board for them, all right? So on Airtable, I can just say, create new board for XYZ developer. Who can see the board? XYZ developer's email address, right? And then we just drop deals in that little area where it's like, here's the property, here's how much it costs, here's the map, here's our underwriting, all that stuff. It's just kind of formal, right? And if you're even a little more techie, you can set it up for them to where when it hits their portal, if they got a CRM, it's something that pops into their pipeline. You want to be in tight with rural developers and people who want to pay you, okay? Again, don't overcomplicate that. Literally, you could like figure that out in a couple hours, just a couple YouTube videos, Airtable, Monday, Softer, one of those platforms, okay? Third step, hunt, hunt, hunt. Do not send on-market deals to developers. They've already seen them. They've already investigated them. They're not that smart, but they do know how to set up a filter on land.com and Zillow so they can generally see what comes out, right? What you really have to do, and what I've learned the hard way, is if you've got a deal under contract, like literally this is what it looks like inside of D.R. Horton if you're trying to sell them a land deal, okay? If they know you're making $1 million, $2 million on this play that you're selling to them, there's a team that sits down and says, I think Kendall's making too much money on this deal. So we're gonna tie it up under contract, we're gonna get close to close, and then we're gonna try and go beat the shit out of it. So we can get it down and down and down. Because Kendall's a wholesaler, and he can't buy the property. It's a $2 million, $3 million deal. Do not tell a developer that you're a wholesaler, okay? Because they will do that to you. You need to project confidence that I'm closing this deal, I'm gonna do this with it, but if it makes sense for you to buy it from me before then, and we can create a win-win, let's do that, right? Because if they think that, well, this guy, like I looked him up on Facebook and he's got a picture flipping off the camera and like he doesn't have $2 million to go buy this property, right? They're gonna say, man, we're good. And they're gonna watch that property for 60 days. And when your contract expires, guess who's calling them? That developer. So you gotta say, hey, I have this deal, Mr. Developer. I've already got the capital raised. Me and my partner are buying it. We're gonna do this little subdivision on it. We're gonna cut it up into these 9 lots, okay? I'm closing it, but I do like to reach out to developers in the area just to see if you'd be interested in it. Because if it makes sense for you to take it the rest of the way, where you can make some money and I can make some money, then I'd be happy to do that, right? What you don't say is, hey, I wholesale land. I locked this deal up under contract. Do you want to buy it? And how much are you going to pay for it? That's not how it goes, right? You tell them, I'm buying this property. We're going to subdivide it and sell it on the market. You clearly, Mr. Developer, know how that works. If you're interested in buying it for $10,000 an acre, let me know, okay? That's what the conversation goes like. Do not show weakness. Be strong. Project that you are going to close the deal, or else this strategy won't work for you, okay? I do want to just highlight, I don't only flip deals to rural developers. I take them the whole way too. But since that first deal, where I took home a large check, I'm a little more risk adverse. I would much rather guarantee $1 million now than speculate on $2 million in 12 months. Personal opinion. And I believe that's Anthony and Daniel's opinion as well, okay? But if you are taking it the full route, a couple things to consider. Retail appetite. What are people buying in the area, right? Is it 10 grand an acre, 12 grand an acre, 15 grand an acre? Data for you right now, at least where I live and the stuff I'm doing, retail appetite skyrockets down when the land goes over $200,000, okay? I don't care if it's 2 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres. If it's over $200,000, most people just can't make it work. You segment, you just get rid of a lot of the buyers because they don't got the cash, right? So what I'm looking at right now, investor appetite, is I want to find deals where I can make margins in that range, okay? So I went and looked at a deal, I called it Born yesterday. I've been informed it's Bernie. So I went and looked at a deal yesterday in Bernie, and they were trying to sell it for $25,000 an acre, okay? If I were to cut it up, I would cut it up into, and people were telling me it's a good deal, I just don't get the area. So if I were to cut it up into 10-acre tracts, which makes the most sense for there, I'd have to sell those at like $35,000 or $40,000 an acre for the numbers to make sense. That is now a $350,000, $400,000 property. That is some people's game. It isn't mine, all right? I want to be in the market where the most retail buyers are if I'm subdividing a project. Like the deal Anthony and Daniel showed you this morning, I know these guys, I promise. I didn't just show up. I just have a brain fart when I'm saying their names. They were showing you those 10, 15-acre tracts. I could guarantee you they're trying to sell those under $250,000, $300,000. Probably less, okay? because that's where the most buyers come in. And if you can offer owner financing on top of that, guess what you are? You're the best option in the market, which means you get the phone calls, you get the leads, you get the majority of the sales, okay? So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to buy at the $5,000 to $10,000 acre range and sell in the $10,000 to $15,000 an acre range right now. That's what I'm most comfortable with. That's where I'm making money today. So that's what I'm doing. I'm avoiding deals like the one I looked at in Bernie yesterday. I hope somebody goes and makes a bunch of money on that deal, but it ain't gonna be me because I don't like it right now. It's too expensive. Showed that one already. Keep going. Okay, big tip. If you are doing this, whether you're flipping it to a developer, wholesaling it to a developer, or you're gonna take it the whole way, a good surveyor or engineer is your best friend. I run a business that does subdivides. I'm not a subdivide civil engineer. I'm not a surveyor. I don't know the nuances. So when I call a surveyor, I'm not just saying, hey, can I get a survey for this? I'm saying, hey, I need a survey, and here's my napkin drawing of what I want to do with it. Can you take it the rest of the way? Do you know how to? If it's like, yeah, kind of, not my surveyor. If I ask them that question and they say, oh yeah, well I just take it to this and I call Carrie at the county and she's gonna file it as a minor land split and it's done, yeah, you don't have to worry about it. That's my surveyor, that's my engineer, right? Those are your best friends to figure out the logistics, the jurisdictional complexities of the deals. Find local surveyors and engineers. They've been in the area for a long time. They know how to do it, okay? So if you're saying, how do I take the big one and turn it to the small one, the small tracts, it depends. Depends what county you're in, depends what state you're in, but the people that know exactly how to do it are the local surveyors and engineers. Okay, 2, access to capital. So as I said earlier, the liquidity pools, the people that are lending money on land, I think I got a little time left. It's just gonna dry up. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this is my personal opinion, but a lot of the cash that's influxed into this real estate economy right now, it's gonna get tighter over the next few years. Okay, so for that reason, I've been raising money, I've been putting money in my pocket so that I think in the land game, cash is gonna be king. Cash is gonna be king over the next couple years. Access to cash, in my opinion, will be the #1 advantage for land investors in the coming years, okay? For one reason, is just because if you say to somebody, like a rural developer, hey, like I just gave you that script, I'm gonna buy this, close it, subdivide it, you gotta be able to do it. You gotta at least be able to close it, right? Because if you can't close it, just like I said, they're gonna come in and snatch it from you. So there's 3 ways to do it, okay? Raise it, a lot of different structures, a lot of different ways to raise capital. I just raised $5 million at 15%. It's a little more complex than that, but it's just a straight debt raise, okay? People who participate in my land deals making 15% annual. I make around 60 to 80% of my deals on average, so it works, all right? If that's out of your wheelhouse right now, create relationships with me, with Logan, with Anthony, with Daniel, with everybody who has money. I've got a guy I've worked with out of New York for a long time now, okay? The first couple deals, you know, a little bit more, we gotta really dig into the details. We bought a property a couple months ago. I said, hey John, we need 1.2 million to close this deal. Looked at it for about 3 minutes. He's like, okie doke, just get me on the chain with the title company. And the $1.2 million came in the door, okay? Did I give up 40% of the deal? Yes, but I closed the deal. So if I told somebody I'm gonna close the deal, or if I just know it's a great deal, you gotta use the tools in your tool belt. Most people here can't go raise $5 million when you leave this room, okay? I'm telling you, maybe in a year or two after you got a little track record, consider it, because it really does help. But this is your one right here, okay? Is create great relationships with private investors. You gotta have it, you gotta have people who trust you, you gotta have people who want to do land deals. And on this, you need people with the appetite for it, okay? If you go to somebody who's only done multifamily for the last whatever amount of time, you show them a land deal that generates a 50% return on capital in 12 months, do you know what they say? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Because multifamily investors are very much used to 10, 15, 20% IRR. That's the majority of commercial investors. So when you go show somebody a deal, it's like, hey, the project's going to cost 1.4 and we're going to sell it for 3 million. You'll make 40%, I'll make 60%, we're good. They're like, makes no sense, not going to do the deal. So you got to find people that have appetite and people that understand land, okay? And there's not a ton of them, to be honest with you. So just be willing to give up half the deal. My favorite saying in land that will take you a long way is half a watermelon is better than a whole grape, all right? If you can get half of a big old fat watermelon, sure is better than a little tiny grape, all right? I would much rather split $1 million than take $10,000 for myself. This is my favorite one. Start now. This is, my first mentor told me this. Double your money 5 times before you use it, okay? So whenever I started making some money, I said, okay, cool. I got like 200 grand. So I put 200 grand into a deal and I got 400 out. And I put 400 into a deal and I got 700 out. And I've been doing that for the last couple years since I did that big deal. And now I work with about $2.5 or $3 million of my own money. My goal is to double it a few more times before I touch it. I don't touch it. I try and 1031 as much of it as I can. Double your money 5 times. If you're starting with 5 grand, great. Double it a couple times this year. Go buy a $5,000 lot, sell for 10, buy 10, sell for 20. In 2 years, you'll come to me and say, Clint, that was the best piece of advice you ever gave me, because now I got $500,000 in my bank account. Never expected that, right? I ran my land business for 3 years. 17, 18, 19, I had maybe a couple $100,000 in my bank account. Had a great business, had a lot of seller finance notes that paid me. I didn't have a ton of cash, all right? So if you are getting into land, it is the best way to multiply your own money. Every single dollar outside of what I need to support my family and all the stuff goes back into investing in deals. I buy land notes, I do all sorts of stuff because land is just really high leverage right now, and I'm gonna ride that wave while it's there, because it won't be there forever, okay? Probably for 10, 20, 50 years, I don't know how long, but right now it's the highest leverage real estate strategy that I know, and I'm in a lot of masterminds, so. Okay, number 3, use owner finance to maximize your returns, okay? If you buy a property for $1 million and sell it for $2 million, how much money are you paying in taxes? A lot is the right answer, okay? It is short-term capital gains. It's going to catapult you to pretty much the highest tax bracket. You'll pay 30, 40, 50% of that. Why the hell do I want to do that when I could just owner finance it, take that money over a long term, and then if money comes to me in smaller increments, still a good amount of money, but if I'm getting $200,000 a year, I can probably figure out ways to write expenses against that and do partnerships with other people and really lower my taxable income on it. Versus if I take $1 million or $2 million now, I'm going to owe half of it to the old government. This is a deal that we did. This was like 150 acres or so we bought. This county had again, my engineer and survey told me this. Hey, because I was going to cut this into 10-acre lots, but they said, hey, in this county you can do 5 acres with a pretty simple process. And obviously if we can go down to 5 acres, we can make more money. So I said, let's run it, okay? Oh shit, there's a picture missing from this, but let me just pretend, let me tell you what this cost, okay? The project I was all in for $1.5 million, and I was gonna sell it for let me make sure I'm doing my math right, $3.2 million, okay? I had a $1.7 million total revenue spread on it. That's the total amount of profit, gross profit I was gonna make. If I just said, hey, we're only selling these for cash, we're only selling them if some other bank finance them, that's how much we would have made, 1.7, okay? And I would have paid a lot of money on it. Instead, we really focused on on owner finance sales for this deal. Ran a lot of ads, Facebook ads, said, hey, you want a piece of land in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Come get into it for 25 grand. Get a lot of interest in it. So let me just walk you through these numbers here. We sold 20% of the project for cash. 80% of it we sold for owner financing, okay? With 20% cash, I got, and all the down payments on the owner finance notes, I got $1.24 million back. At the end of the first year, because I was collecting $25,000 a month, I got $1.5 million back. I made whole at the end of the first year, all right? Now how much money do I have left over, all right? I have another $3.5 million people are gonna pay me in $25,000 increments for this specific deal would be for the next 10 years, okay? So instead of making $1.7 million, I will collect 5.7 ballpark over the course of the next 10 years. Yeah, I could take all that cash now, but like I said, I'm gonna go pay a lot of taxes on it, right? So I don't wanna do that. I would much rather have $25,000 a month coming in so that I can put it into an entity and I can have expenses and business growth cost into that entity so I don't pay all the taxes on it and I keep my tax bracket lower, all right? Does anybody else know of an asset class where you can have $25,000 a month of cash flow with no debt? I haven't found one yet, all right? So this is why I think land is pretty much the highest leverage asset class you can find in real estate right now. This is a real deal, real things that happened, the real amount of money we're bringing in, okay? And also, just look at this. These are the first 3 months, okay? And it looks like this for a while. I'm getting $25,000 a month from all the individual borrowers from this property at 10.9% interest, okay? $20,000 a month is going to interest. So it's not shown here, but it's at like 2.5 million is the principal amount. They're only chipping a combined $5,000 a month against that principal down. Over the first 3 years, I think you make like $1 million on interest. And over the entire term, you make $2.3, $2.4 million on interest. Truth is, some people will pay off early. Some people will refinance into a lower interest loan when they can. But I've sold over 650 land notes. I hold 200 currently. Or I've sold and I own over 200 currently. Everybody says I'm going to pay it off in a year. If anyone's ever sold on owner financing, they say, oh, I don't care about the terms, I'm going to pay it off this year. Okay? 90% of them don't. All right? 15% default, and you say, oh, that's a high default rate. I love it. I don't want them to default. Okay? I'm not a predatory lender. Anybody recording this in here, I don't want anyone coming after me. But I like when properties default because I start the clock over. If it was a $190,000 property, it's probably a $200,000 property now. If they paid me $30,000, great. I'm going to go get $20,000 down again, and we're going to start this monthly P&I process one more time, right? So I like land defaults. I don't encourage them. And again, if anybody tries to come after me for predatory lending, during COVID, I had 80 people that said, I don't know if I can make this payment anymore. Only lost 5% of them, okay? Because I restructured all their loans, dumped the interest on the end of the loan, created smaller payment plans for them now. So I kept 95% of my loans through COVID. And hey, the majority of the people who buy these lots, they are working class individuals, okay? So when the market goes, they're gonna have problems too. So I do wanna be the best bank they've ever worked with. Me and my team, we will try to keep people on it, but if they just say, I can't make the payments, man, what do I do? I say, hey, I'll give you $2,000 right now. I'll give you $1,000 if you'll just sign the deed. Sign it back to me. We have about a 90% success rate with just doing that. So I don't really take stuff to foreclosure. The only time that I take it to foreclosure is if I got somebody really, really nasty. I've bought and sold over 670 properties. I've invested in over 1,000 properties to date. Only happened a couple times. The majority, if I have to foreclose, they either died, which is unfortunate, or they died. It's generally the reason we have to foreclose on a property, okay? So don't be scared of owner financing. It can really catapult your business. Oh, look, there's that slide once again. Okay, next. Okay, I think I'm a little out of order here, but entitlements are a big one. I don't want anybody to focus too heavily on entitlements. These are long, heavy, detailed process. That's what Anthony was doing with that deal where they said Lowe's was interested in buying part of it. Entitlements, covered land plays, a lot of really cool stuff you can do here. When I got this deal, I didn't know how to do this deal. This was 5 acres in Waco, okay? Almost 6 acres in Waco. It was right next to a 180-unit apartment complex. It was zoned for 26 units an acre when I went to buy the property. It had all this shiz on it. Had to pay to have that cleaned up. It had an old house on it that we rehabbed. See if I got numbers on this deal here. So here's what we did with this property, okay? We came in and I hired a civil engineer to start the process of platting this property out. They worked with the county. The county said, yeah, we'll let you do that. You got to do a few things, okay? You see this sketch? I got water lines, I got sewer and power lines, just stuff I found out through the county. This is what I sold the property with, basically. I sold it to a multifamily developer who pretty much looked at this, looked at the basic work that the civil engineering company had already done. That took me about 15 minutes, okay? Maybe 20, 25 minutes. And just for a little more detail on this, this is the apartment complex right here. There's a lot of low-income housing around it. And so I said, cool, with 5 or 6 acres, we can probably put like, I don't know, 100 plus units on here. I'm not a multifamily developer. And I had no clue how to do this either. That's why I say have a tool belt and have a network. I basically put this idea together, asked an engineer to help start the process, cold called some multifamily developers, and I bought the property for 110 cash. I cash out refied it pretty quickly because I needed about $50,000 for the entitlement process for all the engineers and work. I actually needed more than that, but as far as I was going to go, I only needed about 50. Property appraised at 200 when I bought it, which was great. So I got 140 out. 6 months later, I sold it for $550,000, made $400,000 on it. And that was the main reason I sold it. It was just an idea I threw on a map, right? I would not have done this specific deal if it wasn't for my network. The reason I got this deal is there's somebody I know, he's a real estate investor, aspiring real estate investor, he also cuts hair. Somebody came and sat in his chair to get their hair cut, and they were bitching about a piece of land that their uncle left to him that was covered in shit, right? This guy comes to my house, cuts my hair, I know, privileged problem, but he said, hey, this guy was telling me about this piece of land. I was like, oh, and the reason I still have this guy cut my hair is because he's a real estate investor. I think it's cool. That's why I have a hat on right now. And so he said, hey, would you want to look at it? I said, sure. Went and looked at it, talked to the owner, paid my hairdresser, or whatever you want to call it, barber, excuse me. Paid my barber $10,000 for finding it for me. Bought it from the guy in 30 days for $110,000 or $100,000, whatever it was. Would not have found that deal if it wasn't for my network. Over the past 2 years, like I said, I have an online presence. I got people who follow me and participate in our stuff. I've done close to half my deals. Okay? If you talk to Anthony, you talk to David, you talk to Daniel, you talk to everybody in this room, you talk to Logan, you talk to anybody who spoke up here, a lot of their deals come from their network. All right? So that's why they're saying start a podcast, do something, go to events. A lot of deals I'm getting these days, because like we could all send letters on the same exact moment. We could all send text messages at the same exact moment to find an off-market deal. And just different people respond to different, and different people connect with different people, right? I'm like a 29-year-old white boy from DFW, okay? What do you think happens when I drive up to a ranch owner who's 67? The number one thing I get is, I sure was expecting an older man, you know? And it's like, yeah, I get that, but here's how we're gonna do this deal, and here's how I'm gonna get you this amount of money in this amount of time. Network, very, very important. Okay, why don't most people succeed? What's good?
I was taking notes. Where do you get your haircut?
Mobile barber, DFW. Okay, 3 reasons I see people fail in land investing. Doing it alone. You guys are doing a good job if you're here, all right? Getting in a network. The most challenging part that I see when people are getting into real estate, specifically land investing, a lot of house wholesalers, house flippers get land leads in their pipeline, and what do they do with them? I don't really know how to do that. There's tens of millions of dollars of deals waiting to be done just sitting in wholesaler and flippers pipelines, okay? So when you're doing it alone, you don't know how to look at any of those properties or deals I've showed you and say, oh no, dude, you got something here, right? You're like, what do you mean? They want $100,000 for this 5-acre piece of shit. I'm like, no. It's right next to an apartment complex. It's already zoned properly. We could go make a bunch of money off this, right? I just happen to know, because I'm in a network of multifamily and storage investors, I know that people who build apartment complexes, they generally budget a certain amount per unit for the land cost. That's just a piece I picked up through being in my network, being in different masterminds. So I did some quick math in my head. Okay, 26 units an acre, 5 acres. You can probably only use 3 acres because you're going to lose a lot of it. 75 to 100 apartments. Okay, they're paying $10,000 per unit. I can probably get 500 to 750 grand for this property. Where you look at it, you're like, that is a shitty house. There is 10, 20, 30 years of trash scattered about this property. There was literally like a 1/4 acre beehive. And I feel bad for the contractors who cleaned it because they called me and they said, hey, can you buy us a couple bee suits off of Amazon? I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, I had to send one of my guys to the hospital because he got stung so many times trying to clear this beehive off. I was like, yeah, no problem. Let me get you guys a couple bee suits, right? Anyhow, all that said, doing it alone, if you don't know how to look at deals, and see the potential value in them, you need to be in a network of people who do so they can help you get it to the finish line. One of my clients, and this is what I think makes a good mentor, you see like Braxton, who spoke earlier, who is a mentee of Anthony and everybody here. He's making a bunch of money, but he's young, right? Because he started the right way. If in 2016, 2017, I knew how to do rural subdivides, well, I would have been making a lot more money. One of my clients came in the first year and made $2.5 million on one deal outside of Austin. It was like his third land deal, all right? It's just because he's like, oh shit, well, if he's making $1 million on deals, I should probably look at those, right? And so he looked at him and he did those deals, and he probably changed his life with that one deal, right? So you gotta get vulnerable. You gotta say, hey, where do I gotta be so that I can maximize my time and effort in this business? You gotta be in the right room. You're already here, so that's good. Okay, 2 unrealistic expectations. Anybody who tells you you can send 1,000 mailers and get a deal, please don't listen to those people, okay? Right now it's costing me for a flip and just text messages, mail, voicemails, cold calls, $3,500 to $5,000 of spend to find the deal. It's still about half of what wholesalers generally spend, so we still got a long runway there. But a lot of people think that you can just send $500 of mail and you're gonna make a bunch of money. You need to figure out your marketing budget, okay? This is what I teach people, is you've got to figure out your marketing budget. You've got to figure out what's the most efficient way. Who was I talking to? PJ? I was talking to PJ earlier. He was asking me, he's like, hey, so I'm getting started and I just don't have a ton of money. Like, should I send blind offers? I was like, hell no, you should not send blind offers. Those cost 50 cents a piece, and they've been done 1 trillion times over the last couple of years. People don't respond to them well right now. If you have less money, but you got more time, you need to do marketing strategies that fit your life circumstance, okay? How much does it call you to pick up the phone and call somebody? Your phone bill. How much does it call you to text somebody? Your phone bill. How much does it cost you to do voicemails and text messages at scale? It's like 1/10 of a penny, okay? If you buy the software, buy the data, do the thing, it's pretty cheap, all right? So what I told PJ was the way that you need to do deals right now, since you have less money but you got more time, is you just need to use your phone. And no guru is going to tell you that. They're going to tell you send 1,000 mailers, it works like clockwork, okay? It does not. If you don't have a large marketing budget, $5,000 plus, I call it $3,000 plus a month, you need to be smiling and dialing. You need to be slamming the phone. You need to be doing mass text messaging to get leads because it's a lot cheaper. You can reach a lot more people. Caveat, it's a lot more work, okay? Significantly more work than just sending out 20,000 mailers that cost you $10,000. I know if I send 20,000 mailers, I'll find a deal, and I'll probably make a return on that marketing spend, right? But most people don't have that. So you need to create a marketing plan. You need to create a marketing plan that fits your budget, okay? And simply put, if you got less money, more cold calls, more text messages, more driving for dollars, more stuff that takes your time, that doesn't take your money, okay? I got a guy, a client of mine, no CRM, no business phone number. Hell, his text messages are green, which drives me crazy. He made $1.1 million wholesaling lots in Florida, okay? And you know how he did it? He got on the MLS and he got in areas and he just wrote down addresses. Okay, and he started going there, or he started driving to the owners' houses that live in the area and creating relationships with them and saying, hey, because he knows that the developer will pay 50 grand, and so he says, okay, I'm gonna go, hey, will you take 42 grand for it? Because he already knows he can sell it for 50. Yellow legal pad, cell phone, gas in his car. $1.1 million in a year, okay? Don't gotta get fancy, that was like 100-something deals he did, all right? Doesn't have to be fancy, you just need to build a plan that fits your life, fits your budget. Okay, last one, wrong money mindset. I already told you this. Half a watermelon is better than a whole grape. That first deal I showed you where I subdivided that property outside of Austin, just didn't know what I was doing, right? I didn't know what I was doing. So I was giving up equity left and right. I was like, hey, you bring me money, you get part of the deal. Hey, you've subdivided a property before, right? Hey, look, I don't even need you, like, I just need you to tell me what to do. I'll give you 5 or 10% of that deal. I'm just slicing off checks because I didn't know how to do it. When you're starting to do these big deals, you need to be vulnerable and understand that you would rather make 40% of $1 million than 100% of $10,000, okay? And you guys have access to the people to do it. All right, show of hands. Did I create $100,000 of value in your business today? Yes? Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, questions, what do we got?
I had a question. Whenever you were talking about, like, whenever you talked to D.R. Horton, I guess.
Yep.
Are developers actually going around your back to the homeowner or the landowner?
Yes, they are. They literally have teams internal at the big developers, at least, like DR and Lennar and those people, that their whole goal is just to get you out of the deal. Because they're not stupid. They've been building houses for a long time. They understand you're making millions of dollars on the property, and a lot of people don't have the actual ability to close on it. So there are literally teams in big development companies that just, all they do is try and screw you, right? And that mindset trickles down to even the smaller developers. They probably don't have 3 people on staff working on that, working on lowering their cost basis and the thousands of acres they're buying. But they are smart, and they're like, I know this kid's making $1 million on this deal. Like, I'm just gonna go beat the shit out of them and like try and get it for cheaper. So that's why I say project confidence. Cool.
I know you said earlier that you have MLS in all of Texas. How do you accomplish that?
I got my father to get his real estate license, and then I got him into a brokerage that has access to all the MLSs in the state of Texas. So if you got a friend, if you got somebody who wants to break into real estate, hey, I'll pay that $1,000 for you to go get that license, and then go join a big brokerage that has access to all the MLS. That's how. Any other questions?
Read my notes here. I was trying to take notes like crazy. This schmuck over here, like.
Yeah, Kindle's a pain.
Shut up, dude. I need to see. You do. Yeah. So going back to as you're trying to find developers, and you were saying, as an example, find 100-acre tracts, and then find smaller ones in that area, say 20 acres or 10-acre tracts, see what they're going for per acre. And you said that was a great way to see not only what they're going for per acre, but also those. It puts you in touch with those developers. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, so just very easily, you could go on land.com right now and just look north of San Antonio, north of Austin, anywhere, and just search for 1 to 300 acre tracts and just kind of gauge 6,500, 12,000, whatever it is an acre, right? Do that same search for 10 acre tracts. You'll do 2 things. 1, you'll just create that confidence in yourself that, oh shit, yeah, just going smaller makes it a lot more valuable per acre. And 2, you'll start seeing the listings of other developers doing that, right? Because I cannot tell you how many extremely rich developers I've talked to, and when we're having that conversation of, hey, will you sign the NDA and the non-circumvention? I'll set a portal up for you. By the way, how are you buying most of your deals right now? Oh, my broker just finds stuff on the market and brings it to me. So they're already paying retail, typically paying too much. So you come in and you offer them a deal of $500 or $1,000 less per acre, you are now their best friend in the entire world, and they're a huge liquidity pool. Got another one?
That's all.
All right. Any other questions? What's up?
So I know Anthony and Daniel teach a little bit about marketing to on MLS on market. Do you also market online to what's listed already?
Yeah, so we got a shit ton of filters set up on like Zillow and land.com that are like, hey, I'm looking for properties either that have had this many days on market or new listings under this price per acre. I have those go into a central email inbox, right? It's like MLS leads at unlovedland.com, which is my buy side. And then we have an automation of any time something goes into there, it pops into our CRM. And so our team then just looks at it as if it was any other deal. If that makes sense. So yeah, and again, this is a really good point that I want you guys to have. I told you guys there's a significantly higher amount of large pieces of acreage listed right now, okay? Way more than the market can absorb. So what does it mean when there's a bunch of properties listed? What are those property owners telling you? They're raising their hand and saying, I want to sell my property. So what's happening is a lot of these listings are expiring, they're going long-term, they're way overlisted. Their neighbor has sold 6 houses in the past 5 years, so apparently they're now a development land broker. They just got no clue how to market it. So this really is the first year we've taken on-market deals very seriously. I've got 2 under contract right now to do that came from the MLS. So it's a pretty new strategy for us, but I think there's a lot of runway there. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So you said you count pending comps the same as a sold comp? So you treat them equally?
Well, first we want to make sure we have access to the right data. So I don't trust anything I see on a website that I don't have to pay for or log into. So if it says it sold for $20,000 an acre, I just in my head say $18,000, $17,000. But what I want to see is I want to see verified sold comps in the last 3 to 6 months, and I also want to see pending listings. That's your best finger on the trigger, right? And especially if you can get access to MLS, you can see pending listings. You can also go to land.com and just search pending, because land.com syndicates all the MLS listings onto their platform. They shove them at the back of the page, so you have to pay them to get them up. That's why I hate land.com, but they have all the listings on there. So you can just search under contract, and you can see deals that are under contract, right? And then you can use that little script of hey, I want to sell some property in this area. I know you can't tell me exactly, but can you give me a ballpark of what it's selling for? Maybe you can list it for me as well, right? And then they're going to be, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm hearing a lot of that guys saying that now they're really only using data from the last 30 days.
Yep.
So they're tightening up their time frame for how they're doing comps. Mm-hmm. You said on there 90 days and below, but then another slide said 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So are you also tightening it up as well to a much shorter time frame?
Yep.
Because obviously you're looking at pending.
Yeah. So when I gave that presentation a year ago, it was 90 days or less. Now I'm a little more comfortable with 3 to 6 months. But really anything that sold in 2022 or 2021, I just think it's fake. That's just, we're not going to see those prices again, right? So right now I'm comfortable with about 6 months, but really the secret is just, what did somebody just pay for that property, right? That's what I think, that's how we're trying to do it. Another little strategy for you guys, if you run ads or you know how to run Facebook ads, you can run ads to a landing page and just put a big phone number on there and say something to the effect of, hey, I'm on the property right now and it's I'm selling these tracts for $8,000 an acre, 45 minutes south of DFW, right? And if people voluntarily go to that landing page and call you, it's a very big indicator that you're at a good sales price, right? But if you run that ad and they're not calling you, then you're probably a little bit too high. That's just a little strategy you can use. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You said we each your father with the realtor license and no pencil out?
Yes and no. I mean, if somebody wants to sell a $2 million ranch and I can get him at a 6% fee and I can take a couple points and he can take a couple and the brokerage can take a couple, great. What I'd rather do is keep that listing kind of in a follow-up stage so that, whenever they're ready to sell. And, I'll tell them if it makes sense in context. But I keep Dad hungry with just all the stuff we have for sale, so he works with a lot of the sold stuff. Excuse me. Yes, sir.
What's the best exit strategy for somebody who's just starting in big land? Like somebody gets a land in a contract, wants to get an assignment fee or something.
Yeah.
And kind of, like you said, that the big developer will kind of go out your back and deal with the seller directly. What's the best exit strategy?
Call Clint. Call me. Honestly, call me, call Anthony. If it's your first couple, understand your position in the transaction. What drives me crazy is when I get emails from people and they're like, hey, I got this property under contract, it's my second deal, which obviously means they can't close on the property. And they say, okay, I'll give you 20% of the deal if you'll come fund it. I'm like, do you even know how to do the deal? And I go, no, I figured you could tell me along the way. That's somebody that doesn't value my time and my expertise, so I'm not even going to converse them on the deal. So I tell people a lot to really understand where you lay in the transaction chain. That's why I'll sell a property before I fully develop it and sell it to the retail market, because I understand I can stand in that position and still make a lot of money, right? I can use my expertise and time and marketing to put those deals together and then let the developer take the rest of the risk in selling it off, right? If you're brand new and you just kind of don't know the words, you don't know what to do, call somebody and say, I don't know what to do here. I probably should wholesale this to you, or maybe we can partner on it in some way. Help me out, right? That's gonna put, like if you're talking to me or you're talking to somebody who's busy all the time, that's gonna be like, oh, that guy like is self-aware. He realizes like that's somebody I could probably work with, right? He's not somebody who's gonna try and, you know, snake behind my, there's all sorts of weird stuff they can go on in partnerships. So I want people who understand where they lie. If it's your first couple of deals, try and assign them or wholesale them. And if you just got the money, time, and like you're not as worried about the risk, then yeah, you can take them full cycle. But for most people, they don't. And so I say like find somebody like myself or the crew here, or go straight to the developers. But if you have an ally, like somebody who's been doing it, you're going to be a lot more likely to close the deal. Great question. Yes, sir.
You were talking about that money guy in New York that you brought in, and you said maybe you gave away 40% of the deal.
Yeah.
Is that your normal structure when you bring in private money, or you just, I know you said you raised a bunch of capital,
yeah.
interest right now, but.
Yeah. So the question is like if you have a deal partner, if you're like, hey, I want to take this the full route, I can do it, I just need your money, how much percent do you give up of the deal? It kind of depends on what that individual investor's appetite is, right? So I know for them that they manage a whole bunch of money, it's like 8% or some stupid number, right? So if they're making 16%, 25%, 30% on their money, in their mind it's a good deal. So there's not a holistic answer, but for them I ask them, I'm like, hey, what like just general rate of return, ROI, do you want to see? If you give me $1 million, how much you want back? Like what would you expect back? Right? 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, that's 20%, 30%, 40%. Just figure out what they want, right? And then I'm going to try and structure the deal so that it works for them. So some people have more or have less.
So did you give him, like when you did that deal, did you give him a first lien position on the
Yeah. Yeah, so when I did that deal, I gave him a first lien position. They brought all the cash for the deal. They were the lender, right? I didn't make any interest payments. I didn't do anything like that. They were just secured in the deal that way.
So if you if you start selling off the parcels, do you do like a partial release on those tracts of land because if he's in first position on the whole chunk?
Yeah, so he's saying if you're in first position on the whole chunk, how do you handle the lien? Yeah, there's generally a partial release clause that you're going to pay X amount per acre that you sell back to the principal balance. That is a little bit more traditional, like with a big or like a local regional bank. Most like again those guys who come in the deal, it's just a waterfall structure of hey, like for that deal specifically, it's every dollar in goes to you first until capital's recouped, and then we split like that.
Is that how you did that on that?
That's how I did that one. Yeah. And obviously over the last few years, I found that hey, I can just, like, if I can raise money at 10 or 15% a year, I don't got to give up 40% of every deal. So that's why I've been focusing on that, and I think it's a big value add to your business. All right, I think I'm at my time. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, brother, man. Appreciate it. Great information, man. Thank you so much. No problem.
All right, we just wrapped up at the Hivemind Conference. Once again, I want to say, love what they're building over there. Really cool network and platform to do deals with other people, so check them out for sure. Now it's been a long one. It has been a long couple days. Dropping the rental car off now. Gonna go catch a flight home. I don't know how much more footage we'll get, but appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next video.